Good evening, everyone. This is Arcacia with Peoria Area Association of Christian Homeschoolers, otherwise known as PAACH. And tonight we are talking about our upcoming homeschooling convention, Transform. It's March 17th through the 19th. And tonight we have joining us Kirk Smith from ICHE. Good evening, Kirk.
Good evening.
It is great to have you here. So we're going to be talking about some things that you're going to be talking about during convention. We're just kind of promoting our convention that's coming up here. We're really super excited about homeschooling convention. It's a great time of encouragement. It's a great time to encourage other homeschoolers and to bond and just to have some really great fellowship time. Don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. We've gone we've been to PAACH now for 8 years. And we've been to our state conference every year for 20 years, with the exception of 2 pregnancies. So we just think it's just not going once, it's going back time and time again.
Oh, definitely. And to kind of give our viewers a little bit of a background on you, those who don't know who you are, it's Kirk Smith. You're a homeschooling dad of 11 kids, right? I got that correct?
That is correct.
You've been homeschooling, or you've been a husband for 27 years. You've been homeschooling for a while, trained as a public educator, pastor for 25 years, the executive director of ICHE. Anything else that's in your repertoire that I haven't mentioned?
No, I've had a few small gigs in between, a few things. That's basically, 2 big jobs in my lifetime.
Great. So you're going to be coming to our homeschooling convention that's coming up here March 17th through the 19th, and you're going to be doing a couple of workshops, and you're also going to be speaking at our New to Homeschooling night. So we're going to talk about the workshops here in a little bit, kind of towards the end of the interview, but I really want to dive in deep about the New to Homeschooling night, because we have just had, homeschooling in general has just skyrocketed all over the place. There's some areas that's up to like 10% that are homeschooling now. And so it's just a huge leap. It's a huge cry for help. So let's talk about the New to Homeschooling night and some questions that I kind of came up with for those new homeschoolers that are thinking about homeschooling, that's been on their brains, or they're concerned about what's going on in the school systems, and they're just looking for a different option. For, there's, curriculum, there's, what's going on in the schools, with different rules, mask mandates, vaccines, not vaccines. There's just so much stuff going on right now, which leaves us parents to have some tough decisions for our kids. Correct?
Absolutely. It's a great time, though, because there's 4 words in the Bible, Arcasia, I talk to my kids about: ponder, consider, examine, and meditate. And we're all so busy with life, we just do what everybody's done. It's kind of the norm. And this season has caused us as parents, and more specifically as Christian parents, to stop and to think about what we do and why we do it. So it's been a great time for parents to reconsider the lifestyle, not just the education, but the lifestyle of the entire family.
Right, exactly. And I know everyone has a reason why they're considering homeschooling, or why it has popped on in the brain. There's just, we've mentioned several of them, but there's other ones out there too. Many don't feel prepared or ready to homeschool. I'm a homeschooling mom of 17 years, and I think at the beginning of this year, I still didn't feel prepared or ready. How would you encourage those parents who are kind of thinking about stepping into this field and just don't feel prepared or ready to do it?
Sure. I would encourage them, first of all, that God made them the expert of their child. I remember walking on the golf course with a homeschooling mom, and her son was in public school at the time, and she knew something wasn't right. He had some type of learning disability. And she talked to the teacher 3 or 4 times. The teacher just kind of blew her off, didn't think that was the case. Well, finally, she had him tested. Well, sure enough, he did have some learning difficulties. And the point is, that mom knew her child. And for parents, I come from a unique perspective, Arcasia. I was a public school teacher, as was my wife. And I think some parents think there's a magic pill that teachers are given in college in preparation, and they're really not. What you basically do when you start school, you get a curriculum provided by the public school system, and you just teach according to the curriculum. And in the homeschooling community, it's the same thing. You go out, you buy curriculum. And the great thing about the homeschooling community curriculum is this: I think it's the best anywhere. I mean, hands down, because it's based on pure capitalism. If you're not good, you're out. You know, in the public sphere,
Right.
there's political connections, there are ties, but in the homeschooling community, it's all about what's best for people. And so we have some of the best curriculum out there. And so if parents can read and just follow the guidelines, they can homeschool their kids successfully.
That's great. Yes, I agree wholeheartedly with that. And also, oftentimes I come to your workshops to get the little pat on the back or the little spirit of lifting up to get me through the next year.
Well, you know, it's just so easy to get beat down because we think everybody's doing it better than we are, and they're not. And the thing is, there are so many things that your kids will not learn that's good not to learn at home. You know, I think the building block for everything is character, Christian character specifically. And they can't get that in the public school system. And also they're surrounded by, you know, 10, 20, 30 other kids who have differing worldviews. And just bringing your child at home so they can have a nurturing environment, and for Christians, a worldview at home that's not being attacked constantly or criticized. Wow, that's a great place just to begin to step off the foundation.
Right. And that actually kind of leads me into my next question. I guess we're kind of thinking like on the same pages here. You often mention that it's not just about the books or curriculum, and PAACH agrees with you on that. We've kind of changed our focus a little bit in the last 2 years, and we are fine-tuning our focus on what our ministry is about. What do you mean by it's just not about the books and curriculum?
Sure. That was probably one of my hardest adjustments, going from a public school teacher to a homeschooling dad, because I want to get the books. I thought books were the education, and they're a part of it, but they're a very small part. And so basically we're just doing life together, Arcasia. And that's what I want to encourage your members and the folks who will be coming to the New to Homeschooling that I'm doing there on Wednesday night, that it's a whole different way of thinking. And it was so hard for me previously as a public school teacher who had, you know, sit down and go through the books. It's just totally different if you get the right vision. And I think PAACH has a great vision. I feel like you guys and us are on the same page. It's just doing life together and preparing our kids for life. And when parents have that paradigm shift, it kind of takes the off of what we're doing. We understand that academics are a part of what we're doing, but they're not the major part. If we seek God's kingdom first, and if we teach our kids a love of learning, which many do not have because the public school is kind of taking that out of them, they'll be lifelong learners, and they can't help but succeed.
That's right. I mean, what PAACH's focus has been is learning as families, growing as a community, and glorifying Christ. We're trying to establish those 3 goals, which is exactly what you were just talking about there with home discipleship. So
Absolutely.
definitely.
And if we seek God's kingdom first, I believe I could give story after story personally and from other people as well, how God supernaturally brought opportunities into the home that just transformed individual households.
So why should parents come to this new homeschooling night? Because we probably have people on the fence and probably thinking, do I really need to go? I'm considering I might not be serious yet, or I'm probably going to homeschool. What's the benefit of me coming to this new to homeschooling night?
Oh, they have got to come. Not because it's me, but we've been doing this now for our youngest is 27 now. And again, I come from an educational background, and I had to relearn a lot of things about what education is. Many people think that education is schooling. And I would say that there are many people who are highly schooled, but poorly educated. It is a completely different mindset. And if you can get that early on, it will save you a lot of time, energy, and frustration. It took me about 5 or 6 years to really get the idea of what ICHE uses, home discipleship, with academics and schooling being a part of that. But it's just, again, as I said, learning life skills together. And if you learn that from the get-go, it will save you so much frustration. And not just that, it will save your kids frustration. I remember the story I've used the most is the mother who was upset because her kids were on vacation, they were behind in their history books. And so she was having them fill out all these history pages. Because they weren't done, she drove right past Mount Rushmore to punish them. And that is life.
Right.
We were just sharing that my boys and I went to DC at 1st of August. We went to the mall, which we've been there before, but we spent a lot of time on the Civil War battlefields outside of DC. It was tremendous. And it's one thing to talk about Stonewall Jackson, but when you go to where his arm was buried and they see these things, they see the Horseshoe Salient where one of the biggest Civil War battles took place. I mean, it captures their hearts. I don't care if you go to Washington or in the backyard. Those things can happen in homeschooling.
And it definitely brings those educational opportunities to life. And that's where they really just thrive in that spirit. So yeah, we were talking earlier about, I'm getting ready to plan a DC trip with my son, and I'm so excited about some of the things that we're going to get to participate in and see firsthand that I can read to him about them, but it's so much more to actually be there and experience it firsthand.
And when you see it, and there's so many great things within just an hour or two of Peoria. There's a lot of things to do. One of my boys wants to go to the battlefield at Shiloh, which is, I think, Tennessee, Mississippi border. It's about 5 hours. That's a big day trip. We can do that in one day. And when our kids, my boys especially, some of my girls too are history buffs. We've been at Gettysburg and we stood across a little round top. And when you understand, you've read about things, you maybe seen the movie Gettysburg, but when you're actually there, it just absolutely captivates your heart. And it might be, again, going to the woods and seeing a banana spider making a web, and we throw grasshoppers in, and the banana spider will go and wrap it up and we'll start to suck the blood. Then we'll go back on the internet. We'll look up what the banana spider does. It just connects knowledge in school with real life. And I think so much of the time with public school, it's compartmentalized. You do biology here, and then English is totally different. And then there's math over here. And then there's history. In the homeschooling setting, you can bring all these things into a cohesive unit, and it just weds life to knowledge, and it can captivate your kids' heart.
Definitely. I definitely agree. You've had some great thoughts and some great encouragement for our new homeschoolers. So before I close off this section, I want to ask you a question that we commonly get from our new to homeschoolers. So I figure we'll just throw out one of those questions right off the top here, and maybe it won't come up Thursday night when we're there. We're just get it taken care of right here. So we get asked this a lot. Our parents will ask us, well, when should I pull out my child from school? I want to homeschool. When should I pull them out?
Well, the old story is the best time to plant an oak was 10 years ago. The next best time is today. I would not wait, especially with what's going on with COVID. And I don't know what the situation is up there in the Peoria area, but our kids, I just read an article today from Israel, the kids' education is being shattered. I could give story after story. We don't have time tonight, but today is a good day to do it. And don't wait for this great epiphany. Don't wait to get some great equipping. It's an on-the-job training for child and for parent alike. And it's not, Arcasia, you and James know, we are changed as much as our kids are.
Yes.
And that changes everything.
We grow too, just as much as our kids grow. During our homeschooling, for sure. So let's talk a little bit before we close here towards the end here. Let's talk a little bit about you're doing two workshops. They're called, let me look at my notes here, Raising Godly Parents and the Doctrine of Child Discipline. Can you give us a little short synopsis of what to expect in those two workshops?
Two quick teasers. Raising Godly Parents. Many parents want to raise good kids. That's the low bar. We want to raise godly parents, so they'll raise the next generation to be godly parents, so forth and so on. And it's more than just, again, laying down books, as you said, Arcasia. It is going past the superficial to get to our kids' heart. And so there's a big difference between raising good kids, which is short term, versus godly parents, which is an intergenerational trajectory. As far as the doctrine of discipline, the Bible says a lot about discipline. And many people think it's an option, but it's not. It's a biblical doctrine. And there's a reason why God tells us to discipline. And we'll talk what are some of those reasons, why they integrate with real life, and also how to discipline our kids from a biblical perspective.
Great topics. I'm looking forward to hearing those. Again, our convention is transformed. So our scripture verse that we're taking up from is Romans 12:2, where God's calling us to be transformed, the renewing of our minds, may prove what is good and acceptable, perfect will of God. So we're really looking forward to, we're called as Christians to be in this world, but not of this world. And we need to daily renew our minds and transform our minds into a biblical, godly thinking. So we're really encouraged and excited to have you join us for our New to Homeschooling Night, which will be March 17th, and then our convention, which is March 18th and 19th. Looking forward to having you here in about 2 months, I guess. It's coming quickly.
Can't waste coming back home up there. Just want to encourage all the folks in the Peoria area. Don't miss this opportunity. I saw you're having Zan Tyler, a dear friend, and different speakers, Hal and Melanie Young. You can get so much knowledge in such a short amount of time. So all you Peoria homeschoolers, and even past that, I encourage you to come this time in March in 2022.
Yeah. We're definitely looking forward to it. We're going to have some more interviews coming up here in the next couple of months with our potential speakers that are becoming for our convention. So we're excited to hear from them. Like you mentioned, Zan Tyler and Hal and Melanie Young and some other local speakers. So right now registration is open. This week registration open. It's $50 for subscribers. It's early registration. So if you are a PAACH member, you can get online at paach.org and register. If you're not a member, there is an option still for you online. So check us out online and you can still register. I would encourage early registration because we have some classes that have limits. So once they get tapped out, sorry, you might be able to get the recording for that. So we appreciate Kirk, you joining us tonight, and everybody go online and register as soon as you can for the PAACH Transform Homeschool Convention. Thanks, Kirk.
See you there.